I mean, so much of the talk around United has centred on injuries, hasn't it? What, Stu, though, goes into the process of deciding when a player is ready to come back? There's so many levels to it, aren't there?
Yeah, it is incredibly complex and one that I know all too well, unfortunately. But I've been in that same exact position. I've never been publicly criticised by a manager for not coming back quick enough. I've actually been on the other side where I've listened to the manager. I've had a little bit of pressure to come back a little bit sooner than I was. I came back too early from an ACL injury and re-tore the same knee in the same type of injury and put myself out for a longer period. So I just think it's such a fine line that Jose Mourinho is treading at the moment and saying, because he's not feeling what these players are feeling. And if they're not quite mentally ready to say that someone is ready to play, I think that that's extremely tough for him to say, and telling players, hey, you need to go out there, you need to put it on the line, because at the end of the day, it's that player's career and not Jose Mourinho's.
Is it offensive, Warren?
It's very offensive, I think, as a player. One, being called a coward in the game, and then saying that you're fit enough to play when you're not. Mourinho has to be careful. There's a fine line. He's never played the game, so he's never been injured and then had to play. And I know people say, well, you don't have to play the game to understand, but you do. When you've been injured and you're trying to get back, I'm concerned with the ones that he's trying to bully and pick on. He's not gone after Pogba, he's not gone after Mata, he's not gone after Zlatan. He's gone after maybe the lesser players, the weaker players at the club. He hasn't learned from his time with Hazard. When you deal with younger people, you know, old school, you can go with John Terry, Lampard, Drogba and have a go at them. They can handle it. But in the modern game, I work with two young fillies, used to. You have to be nurtured and be polite and help them through this equation. That's just you, Stuart. But you have to just get the best out of players. So you can't rule the game with an iron fist anymore. Fergie did it, but then he adapted and gone well. Mourinho has to be careful because he might lose these players.
Do you feel like there are other squads in the Premier League that cope better at compensating injuries? And is that in part due to Mourinho being very insistent on keeping a smaller squad of players happy?
Let's not get away from it. They've got a great mentality now under Mourinho. They don't lose games. They either tie or win games, 20+ in the Premier League. So they have that United mentality of sticking together, having team spirit. But I know, being in the changing room, when you start picking out players and saying that they're injured and they should be playing, then you might get a little crack into it. And then going forward into finals and the last couple of weeks of the game, he has to make sure that this team is all together, that they are united and obviously do well.
Yeah, and Warren, the other thing, I've never been around a player that wouldn't want to play in a Europa League semi-final, or a player that wants to miss a big game. So I think this is more of an indictment by Mourinho on perhaps their mentality in general, not just these injuries, but saying, hey, Smalling, Jones, if you guys want to be at this club, if you want to be a part of Manchester United going forward, you need to toughen up. You need to have a bit more of a winning mentality. And I don't think it's specific to their injuries in this moment.
But I have been in a locker room where I've had players that have got a little injury and don't go through it. I mean, you're in the playoffs at the moment with the basketball. I don't know any season where I've gone through end of the season where I've not had a little knock here or there, where you're not hamstrings not tight, maybe your groin's a little bit tight. You manage yourself through it. So I have had players that take the easy option and say, you know what, I don't want to play, my contract's up, I'm going to leave. But not these type of players, not a Shaw, a Smalling. These are international players. He's done it publicly. He's not handled working with younger players very well in that respect. You know, Martial, he's had a go at him, and he looks like a player, Martial, at the moment, that's got the world on his shoulders. If I'm in charge of Martial, I'm giving him so much encouragement, trying to tell him to play, tell him to enjoy the game. Because he does. He looks like the Manchester derby, looked like he had the world on his shoulders, rather than embracing that I'm playing for Man United in a semi-final in a Europa. I've got a chance of winning a trophy. Embrace it, enjoy it. And that's pressure, I think, that's coming on Mourinho to get back in the Champions League, and he's being volatile with his confidence.